And good morning and welcome to Mike Ferry TV. It is that time of the year where we have to look a little more carefully at ourselves, what we think, what we say, and what we do, because we're really building now for 2015. So what I want to do today is I want to do a little test with you. And I'm going to ask you to write down a series of thoughts, and I want you to think about them, because the only way to become better is through, unfortunately, education. I've stated for many, many years that real estate is probably the most overeducated yet undereducated industry in the world for a variety of reasons. First of all, when you look at the amount of information in the field of selling, which is the business you're involved in, that's available to you virtually every day, it's almost impossible to comprehend. I mean, there's virtually thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of hours of training available. And yet, as you know, very few real estate agents take advantage of that. So what we want to do today is we want to do a little test. See where you are, see where you want to go, see what you have to learn. Now, when you look at real estate sales, primarily there's there's probably a dozen, but two primary things we have to look at. One is the condition of what goes on in our head, or what we call mindset. And second, of course, is the ability to know what to say and what to do, which, of course, is the skill set. So the first thing I would ask of each one of you is, do you have a particular strength or obvious weakness, either in mindset or skill set? Most agents are not as strong in one as the other. The top agents are strong in both. But both of those are very controllable. Both of those are very learnable. Both of those are things you and I can specifically work on, do specific things each day, each week, each month to improve the quality of a mindset or a skill set. So what I want to ask you to do then is to say, okay, if we spent the rest of November and December working on those two, which one would you work on first? Now, the hardest part of that process is getting the ego out of the way. Well, Mike, you obviously don't know who I am. I'm a very successful agent. You know, I did 9 deals last year. How can you tell me my skills aren't good? Well, the first question I would say in looking at your skills is to evaluate where your business came from. Was most of your business listing sold or buyer-controlled sales? If it was buyer-controlled sales, congratulations, of course, on your 9 deals, but is the skill set for a buyer's agent as challenging and as important as the skill set of a listing agent? The answer is no. So you might have had 9 sales, which is great, or 18 or 27 or 36 or whatever your number is for the year. But if it's all buyer-controlled sales, then unfortunately your skill set is not as strong as you probably believe it is, which means that there's a lot of ego involved versus common sense in selling. So is it mindset or skill set? What we'll look at today is just the skill set side. So I'm going to ask you then to write down a series of thoughts. Let's write down number 1, time management. Now, some of you have done this with me before over the years. I do this with our coaching clients on a regular basis because my belief is if we can keep their skills inching up, moving up, the confidence they have is much stronger in themselves. That always comes out in how they behave, how they act, what they say to a buyer and seller, which improves performance. So number 1 is time management. On a scale from 1 to 10, how well do you manage your time? Do you have a good schedule? Is it a productive schedule? Is the schedule 80% action-based, production-based, 20% administration-based? How much time in your schedule are you spending doing the things that bring you a listing or a sale? So I want you to evaluate the skill of setting a schedule, the skill of following a schedule, and taking that schedule to the next level. Number 2, lead generation, or to use the P word, prospecting. It is interesting, no matter how much we talk about it, and no matter how much we proclaim that the name of the game is prospecting, the name of the game is prospecting. If you're not talking to people, do you honestly believe you can take a lot of listings, make a lot of sales? But Mike, 80% of all buyers go to the internet before they call a realtor. Key words, before they call a realtor. Key words, they have to talk to a realtor. They're not buying their homes off the internet, for goodness sakes. They're not listing their homes through the internet. That is not taking place. This is a communication business. This is a people, communication, and image business. The stronger our communication, the stronger our ability to talk to people and to create an image that is acceptable, the better chance we have. That revolves around prospecting. Are you talking to your past clients? Are you talking to your centers of influence? Are you calling for sale by owners? Are you contacting expired listings? Are you doing just listed, just sold? You got to think about the ability to prospect on a scale from 1 to 10. Third, of course, is lead follow-up. I would say 80% of all contracts come because of lead follow-up, not because the initial prospecting. The initial prospecting gets you the lead, your lead follow-up. Now, if you followed me at all last year and this year, I kept saying you got to be more aggressive in lead follow-up. Because see, if we're not contacting the people that say, I want to give you a listing, I want to give you a check. If we're not contacting them, all we're doing is wasting their time and ours. So lead follow-up. Do you have a plan in place? Do you have a system in place? Are you calling at a certain time each day? Do you have a script in place? Do you still have to sell your home? Can we set an appointment for this week? Number 4 would, of course, be pre-qualifying. I don't care what anybody tells you. If you don't ask a lot of questions and then listen to every answer, you're never going to have the level of success you want, because without pre-qualifying, you'll never know the true motivation or lack of it of the person you're talking to. Pre-qualifying tells you their motivation. It tells you what questions they're going to ask. It gives you the objections they're going to give you. It puts you light years ahead of your competition if you just pre-qualify every person every time, no questions asked. Next is the listing presentation. If you've been around me for it all, you know that I preach a canned presentation, knowing exactly what to say, exactly how to say it to get the same response every time. My competition says, no, just go in and have a feel for the situation. Just go in and build rapport. Get to know them. Walk in behind their eyes. Walk down their spine. Become one with them. What a bunch of nonsense. A doctor would never do that. A pilot wouldn't do that. An attorney wouldn't do that. Nobody does that. If you've watched me speak at our seminars and retreats, everything I do is canned 100%. It's all pre-prepared, pre-planned, preset, pre-said, practiced, and then delivered. That's what you do on a listing presentation. Are you following the scripts? Do you go ahead and pre-qualify? Are you going ahead and sending out a pre-listing package? Are you calling back and confirm? Are you showing up on a professional level? Are you using the scripts at all? Obviously, you have to test yourself from 1 to 10 on your ability to make a listing presentation. Next, of course, is showing property. Are you opening the front door and saying, here's the house? Or do you walk in and through questions guide them around the house, find out what they want the most in a property, show it to them first, satisfy their needs, show it to them last so you leave them on a high note? Or do you have the courage to ask them to buy the house when you show it to them? Because showing property can be a canned presentation, just like working with a seller can be a canned presentation. How do you rate yourself from 1 to 10? Handling objections. You know and I know the sellers and buyers are not creative enough, clever enough to come up with new objections. They all say the same thing. I've got a friend in the business. I want more money than what it's worth. I want to give you a short listing. I want you to cut the commission. These are not new, guys and gals. On a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your ability to respond quickly to the objections you're getting? Closing the sale, asking for a signature, overcoming the fear that they're going to say no, which they do all the time. But knowing that if you've done your presentation right, you get very few objections, and the signature is easy because they want to deal with a professional like yourself. Negotiating a contract. On a scale from 1 to 10, how good are you? Remember, negotiation, bringing two people together for a common goal. I've got a seller that wants to sell, a buyer that wants to buy. I have to bring them together with the questions I ask. Would you consider this price? Would you consider coming up to meet the seller's demands? See, it's asking questions in negotiation. But here's the hard part of what the skill set is all about, and that is starting over again every day, whether you succeeded or failed the day before. Starting over. See, the hardest part about real estate is you go out and you take a good listing and it's $200,000, $400,000, $500,000, and you start calculating your commission of 3%, and all of a sudden you lose that burning desire to go out and take another listing. You have a closing on Tuesday morning. And oh boy, you're excited. You get $4, $5, $6, $8, $10, $12,000, and all of a sudden that burning desire to get another closing disappears. The best people in every profession have the ability to start over again every day at zero. So therefore, what I've talked about for years is start every day at zero becomes imperative in the skill set. So what I want you to do is say to yourself, okay, honestly, how good am I at the skills required to succeed in the balance of November and December, and build on those skills for 2015. Because with a strong mindset and a strong skill set, believe me when I say, you're going to finish strong and start stronger. Let's make sure that every week that we're together in November, December, you're working on finishing strong. Remember, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Remember, the world works through the end of the year and then starts over again. That's what I do. That's what you have to do. We're going to help you do it better. Talk to you next week.